The PickSix podcast is here and starts now.
Of Joe Burrow's career. Absolutely. I mean, if you watch that game last night and you think about, especially early on last season, we've watched people run for more miles against the Cincinnati Bengals than David Goggins. If you're Joe Burrow, the reason that you're out here in the preseason is because you know you have to score 40. The reason that you're trying to do different things while you're trying to get reps with second team wide receivers is because you know you're going to need them at some point in the season in order to make plays to help a defense that's going to be absolutely putrid. And when you watch this in the preseason, you have to be sick to your stomach because you know there's going to be some games where you sit in the post-game press conference that you scored 35, 38, maybe 41, and you still catch an L.
I've been saying this for the last 3 seasons. And if you've had a chance to watch the quarterback show on Netflix, if you have Netflix or you've downloaded it or whatever, you see a lot of things that they're not showing when it comes to talking to Joe Burrow and Cincinnati and all that. Most notably, they've been leaving out the defense. They don't talk about the defense at all or anything to do with the defense. Especially in that one part on episode 2 where they tie the game, the kicker misses the kick, they go to overtime. They don't show what Baltimore was doing, marching down the field, and then they lose the game. Cincinnati is a team that now the question is, are they wasting Joe Burrow's talent? Of course they are. They're not wasting his talent. They're wasting his time. No quarterback, no player in the NFL has all that time to waste. They are wasting time. But again, as I said, Cincinnati, I remember 2021 season, they finished 10-6. Joe Burrow threw for 4,600 yards. 4,600 yards he threw for and had a 70% completion. 70% completion, pass completion. Got them to the Super Bowl, and they got exposed for everything that we had mentioned, whether it was myself or anybody else who actually respects and understands football. 23-20, they lost to the Rams in 2022 in the Super Bowl. That was his best season up to date until this past season, where Joe Burrow threw for 4,900 yards. 4,918 are the exact numbers. He had 43 touchdowns and 9 picks. 70.6% completion rate. And the team finished 9-8. They still have a horrible offensive line. The offensive line went from horrible to mediocre. And the defense is horrible. I'm not even going to talk about their free agent holdout. It's not worth it. They have not addressed these problems since 2021. You know, they say in life that good teams find ways to win and bad teams find ways to lose. And is that not ever apparent with Cincinnati? The 2 losses to Baltimore could have been either a 1-1 situation or 2 wins for Cincinnati. I mean, I can go over and over and over games that I saw or highlights. I was like, Cincinnati's defense is pathetic. You see, there are 3 things that Cincinnati has become. First, it was first, it was a mistake. Offensive line horrible, defense horrible. 2021. 2022 became a habit. 2023, the habit got worse. 2024, it has become a lifestyle. They are telling you, the management is telling you, they don't want to win. You cannot win in the NFL without a good defense. Just ask the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl. They'll tell you. The Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl are a perfect example. That was phenomenal. The Denver Super Bowl when they absolutely crushed Cam Newton. The Legion of Boom, what they did to Peyton Manning. I mean, the 85 Bears, what they did in the Super Bowl. So when you say defense doesn't matter, you still got to score to win. Oh, it matters. It matters. It matters. And there are maybe 2 defensive players, maybe 3 on that defense for Cincinnati that are legit. The rest, it's just a bunch of spare parts. I'm not hating on the guys because these guys are probably busting their tails off, but it's not working. They have created a lifestyle and it's not working. Joe Burrow in the offseason made sure he got his 2 receivers signed to big contracts. The problem is, what about the defense? What about the offensive line? Where's the money going now? And Cincinnati, who does not like to spend money already, has a major problem. So I'll say this, analysts have said they might make the playoffs. You got all these social media people making predictions. You got all these media shows making predictions. Like I stated before, I'm not making any predictions because the NFL is unpredictable. It's completely asinine to make predictions when it comes to the NFL or college football. Now that college football has this whole playoff structure that's unbelievably great, I'm not making no predictions. But I do have one prediction for Cincinnati. They ain't winning more than 10 games. They might be lucky if they get 10 games with that defense. And in that division, where they got 6 games against that division, Pittsburgh has always been consistent on defense. The Cleveland defense is absolutely sensational. Top 5 in all statistical categories last year. And of course, Baltimore. We don't need to say anything else. So how are you supposed to win at least 4 out of those 6 division games? I'm telling you right now, the only thing I could say is if they can get 3 out of 3 in that division, that is a blessing. It's going to be a rough season for Cincinnati. I just don't know what else to say. So it's going to be a rough season for Cincinnati. It's going to be a rough season. There's no question. So now I was listening to a clip on First Take. They were talking about Anthony Richardson today. Also, I spoke to a friend today outside who is really good with developing football players, and he read something. He reads the body language. He does extraordinary things when it comes to the game of football. And he said something that absolutely makes sense, and it's true. He said Anthony Richardson doesn't spend enough time in the war room studying tape. He doesn't spend enough time. And remember what I said in the previous podcast? Leave the rap career alone for now and focus on football. This guy's 6'4", 244. He's got the skill set that most players dream to have. Brock Purdy doesn't have near any of those intangibles. He's probably a top 5 most talented quarterback in the league right now, based on his body type, his skill set, and his athleticism. Hands down. But in order to keep your job, you gotta stick your tail in that war room, especially when you're a rookie. That war room, the reason why Daniel Jones is starting is because Daniel Jones is the nice guy who shows up to work, has no problems off the field, does what he's told, and spends time in the war room. Is he great? No. We've already seen him. We know the verdict on him. But he does those things. He comes to work. He brings his lunch. He punches in at 12, has his lunch, punches out at 12:30, maybe even earlier than that, and goes back to work. Sometimes he might not even take a lunch. That's why Daniel Jones is the starter. Anthony Richardson's all over the place right now. You could see that. And I said that before. I've been critical of him, but I'm also a big fan of this kid. And what separates him from Michael Penix, Cam Ward, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels with his mom by his side, Justin Fields, these guys are working in the war room. They're doing the stuff that they have to do to be starters. Look at the disaster Justin Fields was dealing with in Chicago. We all know it was a pit fire. It was a pit fire, and he's getting another opportunity. Look what happened to Bryce Young last year. Bryce Young went through, I don't even know what to call it, but was able to get back on the field and finish off the season strong. So it's possible. Now, there's a clip that I heard on I think it was Fierce Take. They're saying that they've given up on him and all this stuff, and technically, yeah. Right now, they've given up on him, and it's almost like they're going to ride Daniel Jones for the rest of the season. Fine, do that. But you're tanking. With Daniel Jones as your starting quarterback, you are officially tanking. Because there's no way you're going to win more than 8 or 9 games with this guy. It's just not happening. The verdict is already in. But while this is happening, this is where Anthony Richardson has got to dial in and put himself in the position to be the guy. So as soon as his name is called upon, because they're going to have no choice to call his name. I think they will call his name because Daniel Jones ain't making it, not the way he plays. Be ready, because I think the opportunity is there. My thing is with players now in sports, I have a couple of things that I always say to young players that are going to determine your longevity in whatever sports you play. And these are the things I always call. I call them the 4 levels. 4 levels of greatness. 4 levels of greatness. If you can do these 4 things, you're always going to be able to play. The first thing is, what are you doing outside of practice? What are you doing outside of practice to be great for yourself and to help your team win? The second thing is, who is in your circle? I've been saying that for years. Who is in your circle? Anthony Richardson, rap career that you are thinking about. It doesn't look good with the optics, especially for an organization like the Colts. As a black quarterback, who is in your circle? Number 3, limit your social media. Limit your social media. I'm telling you, your social media becomes more important than your job. You will find yourself working somewhere else, if working at all. Number 4, develop you. Develop you. When I say that, develop you, you are the most important piece out of all those 3 things I said previously. Because if you could develop a better you, I'm talking about your skill set as a person, your skill set as an athlete, and your mental health, you'll be fine. So those 4 things I always talk about. What are you doing outside of practice? Who's in your circle? How much time are you spending on that social media? And that goes for mostly Gen Z. The Gen Zers, the millennials, it goes for you all if you're listening to this show. For us older people, that's nothing for us. You can scratch that out and develop you. Once you can develop a better you, everything else comes to fruition. So I'm still cheering for Anthony Richardson. I know a lot of people have given up on him, as I said before, but I've spent a lot of time on this because I want to see black quarterbacks develop and become great. Just like the other guys I mentioned earlier. You know, the CJ Strouds, the Bryce Youngs. We know what happened with Bryce Young earlier in the year. The Justin Fields, Jaden Daniels with that miracle and fantastic season he just had. I want to see that level grow. I don't want to hear quarterbacks in college being pushed to receiver roles because that's what they do. I mentioned it before. We ain't doing that. Unfortunately, black quarterbacks have to work harder, but that's just the way it is. That's how our society is, not just with sports, but with other things. But don't get me started with that. So I'm cheering for Anthony Richardson. Now, before I close out the show, I want you to hear Shedeur Sanders talking with the media, about the recent Dylan Gabriel comments. Again, whatever, but I'll just give you a quick take on that, and then we're going to close the show.
Honestly, I don't even think about nothing. I don't think about anything. If it's not words or anything, at this point, it can't do anything to me. I know, the God put the ability and the power within me to not even think about nobody else's comments, not care. It is what it is. I spoke with him. He said, nah, bro, that wasn't. He said, that wasn't. He told me on the plane. He came up. He was like, nah, bro, that wasn't at you. I see how they trying to spin. I'm like, oh, all right. I'm not tripping. Regardless of whatever it was, nobody's words or anything affects me, So, yeah.
So did you believe him when he told you it wasn't on you?
Did I believe him?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like you're trying to start stuff now. I feel like you're trying to start stuff. I mean, he's doing his job. He's supposed to. Do I feel like he did? I don't know. And that's not on me to sit here and be like, oh, he did it. That's not going to change my life in any way.
What's it been like?
So, the media doing what they do best. Listen, I don't take his comments personal. Honestly, I understood what Dylan Gabriel was saying when he said what he said. If you're smart and you understand things, you know what he was trying to say. It's rough out there right now. Cleveland's got 4 quarterbacks. Right now, Flacco's a starter. I don't think he's going to finish the season. You're not going to see Flacco pull that miracle stuff that he did before. It's not going to happen. But it's possible. But at the end of the day, like I said, Shedeur, again, has to be ready. What is he doing outside the practice field? Who is his circle? Keep the social media limited and develop. You can't tell these young players not to be on social media. It's impossible. You know what I'm saying? It's impossible. So when I hear people say don't be, no. If you can manage social media, let you control it instead of letting it control you mentally, then you'll be all right. He has to do those 4 things that I mentioned with Anthony Richardson, and he'll be starting week 4 or 5. Because Cleveland's out for this situation is they have some good offensive weapons. They have some David Njoku, they got some good offensive weapons. They just signed Isaiah Bond, who's a fantastic receiver. They have some good weapons on offense, and their defense is just not like Cincinnati. So, Shedeur does what he's supposed to do. All is good. So, that's another edition of the PickSix preseason edition. This is a little, last minute one. But listen, man, the Anthony Richardson stuff, the Shedeur stuff, it's just a support for the black quarterback. I want to see the success. I want to see it grow. You got a lot of these kids out here who want to be quarterbacks. They're looking up to these guys. These guys have to do their thing also. So that's my thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, again, that is PickSix preseason edition. I'm out. Peace.